While we wait for our guests to join, I'll just give you guys an introduction of what this session is about. I think those of you who are here from the link already know, or from the Instagram announcement, you already know what this is about. For those of you who just like saw the live session pop up and just joined. So basically, I met a person over Instagram, so we've never honestly met in real life, who was an FMG, and she was preparing for EMREE. And I usually try to help whoever reaches out to me with questions regarding the residency program and how to apply, especially like FMGs, because they're really, really clueless about what to do, how to go about it. And since I went through the same path myself, I really always wanted to put out the information that I learned during my journey out there, so that everybody else can actually benefit from it. So she reached out to me, and we connected, and we were acquainted over that. And then, she used to often text me, and then she had told me like she had scored really well, and I was really happy for her. And she went on to apply, and she well, she'll tell you her story. But so I asked her, considering that you scored really well, and there are so many people who really have no idea how to go about prep of the EMREE and how to go about it well, and you have successfully like gotten a really good score, would you mind doing this session for me? And she was really, I wouldn't say reluctant, but she was nervous about it, even though she really wanted to put her information out there. But she very graciously accepted. And honestly, she is a very, very wonderful person, and she's really amazing for doing this. So let's hope that this works, and all her efforts and your time is not gone to... Okay, I think we're clear. Can you try saying something? Patchy connection problems.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay, fine.
Finally. Okay. But I was expecting this, so it's good that we were able to...
we're 10 minutes, 8 minutes.
At least, we were able to... honestly, the biggest concern was that because we're doing it for the very first time, that something will not work at all. But anyway, since we have done it. Okay, so we will officially start. So I will introduce you. I was just giving a brief introduction about you. So this is Dr. Maryam. She is a graduate from Kerala, India. I will not reveal more of where she's from to respect her privacy. But yeah, so she's a complete foreign medical graduate. She's not acquainted to the system in the UAE, and she has been trying and on her journey into getting accepted into the residency program here. So welcome, Dr. Maryam.
Thank you so much, Meharish. Thank you, Dr. Meharish.
Thank you for doing this. I know so many people will really, really, really appreciate your input and your advices on how to go about the EMREE prep, especially the FMGs out there who are completely lost on this journey, as you know, as we've been talking about. So yeah. So why don't you start by having a small introduction about yourself, anything that you want to say, and then we'll go into the questions.
Nothing much. I graduated during October, and since then I've come back. So I was born and brought up here. My family is here. So I've come back here, and then, that's when the whole EMREE thing started. For those of you who don't know, who've just joined, that EMREE is the entrance examination here in UAE. It is a short form for Emirates Residency Entrance Examination. And yeah, that's it, I guess.
Okay, great. So I put out this question box a long time ago, and a lot of people had a lot of questions. Most of them were repeat questions. So I had shared them with Dr. Maryam here, and then she will be answering the frequently asked questions. And some of these questions are beyond the scope of her ability to answer them as well. So those we will discuss here, but most likely we will not be able to give you a very helpful answer. So without further ado, we will begin with the most asked question, which is, what are the materials you use to study?
So second-hand knowledge again, something that I have been told. So, and I have tried and it has worked for me. So one book that is commonly and widely used for EMRE preparation is this book called First Aid for USMLE, Step 2 CK. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So I've never had the hard copy. I just downloaded a PDF of online, and that's what I used. Like that was the chunk for my preparation. And other than that, your past recalls, they call it, the past papers, the past EMRE papers are also really helpful because some questions do repeat themselves. So these are like what I. So I've also used apps like Amboss and Medscape. Hello?
I still think we're having a little bit of issue. It's occasionally glitching, but
Yeah.
we're good. We can
I
still
think
hear the flow of the conversation. Okay.
right. Am I
So
audible now? Is
basically,
it okay?
yeah, we can hear you now. So you were talking
Okay.
about
Yeah.
first aid and past papers. Anything else along with that you used, or this is like all your resources?
Hello?
Okay. Once again, having a glitch. Okay. Can you hear us now?
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
So
Yeah.
you were saying first aid and past papers. Are there any more resources that you use?
Yeah, so the next thing I was coming to say is, obviously some high yield topics, you might not have all the information you'd probably need from these resources. So there are also apps, I mean, online education portals that I used, like Amboss and Medscape. Especially Amboss was like really helpful. So I would suggest Amboss, using Amboss, and yeah, just these are the study materials I would say I use. Basically, it was the USMLE, and of course, like your MBBS books can also help you a great deal.
Yeah, definitely.
So those are the resources. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think the next question that they all want to know is how long did you prepare for, or when did you actually start your prep?
So for those of you who don't know, EMRE happens in cycles. They come like every year. There is this exam season that happens. So EMRE usually starts in the month of December and goes on till the next year, like until March. So that's like 1 year cycle. So each month you would have 2 to 3 exams to give. So that's how EMRE works. And to be honest, to be completely honest, I would say I started preparing around October mid, and like I really went to it like hardcore onto it in like November, and I gave my exam in December. So that
Okay.
is like 2 months, but like a month of solid prep. Yeah.
Okay. But before October, how would you say your, maybe not like specific EMRE prep, but overall your general, like, knowledge about attempting any exam, how would you say that was?
So so obviously like back in Kerala, India, where I'm from, you would get like in your postings, you would have your professors or doctors asking you to go back and read about this or that, things like that. Obviously, final year was like this really hectic,
Of course.
study stuff. But then you get into internship and then you kind of lose that touch. But still, there are some professors and teachers who ask us to, go and, go back to your books and read this. So I would say I've done that. And yeah, so that was about the studying that I would have done before sitting and preparing for EMRE, I would say. But yeah, like I wouldn't say I've totally lost in contact or touch with my books, because we did have, like seminars,
Right.
or maybe our professors would, go ask us to read something. So yeah, that was going on.
So the takeaway is that even during your internship, you were still keeping in touch with reading and with, making sure that like, the flow of studying is still happening. So you weren't like completely disconnected from your
I
books.
wasn't completely slacking off, I would say, but that does not mean to say I was a regular this thing. No, not at all. Just like, like if we have seminars to do or something, we would go back, and, some departments are strict than the others. So it would require you to, be more academic oriented. So
Right.
I was never like really, a consistent person, to be
Right.
honest. No.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so you would say like a month or two of solid prep, and you should be able to tackle the MMI, EMREE well. Did you give more than one exam, or like did you score your score at the first try?
I did it, and Alhamdulillah, fortunately, in my first try. So for those of you who don't know, who's like very, very new to the EMREE thing, so EMREE, they changed the cutoffs yearly, I think, because when I read about EMREE, the pass cutoff was slightly different than the year that I gave my EMREE in. So your pass cutoff varies a little, and the thing is like you can give up to three trials if you don't make it the first time. Only if you fail. If you pass, you cannot give it again to improve your score. So Alhamdulillah, I was fortunate enough to like get it done with my first try. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so another thing is the next thing that they want to ask you is, well, mostly the questions are comparing EMREE exams to other exams like USMLE and the PLAB. And do you have any experience in preparing for the EMREE and PLAB?
Unfortunately, nothing of the international exams have not been exposed. I don't know much about USMLE or PLAB for that matter. Because this is the only exam that I've sat and studied for after my MBBS. So maybe I could, but then like I wouldn't know. Even NEET, the exam that we give in India, even that is changing from the next year onwards. It's going to be called Next, and I hear that it's going to be more practical oriented. So I cannot comment a lot about that, I feel, but if we were to compare the NEET trends that were happening all this while and then take EMREE, I would say that the from the questions that I've seen, EMREE questions are more practical, like very scenario oriented, clinical based, yeah,
More
exactly.
than theoretical, yeah, definitely.
More than theoretical. And also obviously being it an exam of UAE, there are some elements of the
UAE
what we see here, yeah, what we see here more, the epidemiology here, I would say. So that is, yeah, so this is the difference that I can knowingly comment about. But again, I hear, like I said, NEET is changing to Next. So yeah.
Did you attempt NEET while you were doing your internship, or did you prepare for it? Or were you planning on doing it?
I had subscribed to the, so like for those of you who don't know, in India, like we have these coaching, you have these coaching packages for NEET PG. So I had bought one. I never really used it, to be honest, because internship is hectic back in India. So it was just like, but I did carry my books here with me because I didn't know, like, you don't know, like the time after MBBS, it's like really uncertain.
Yeah.
There are so many different routes. So I just wanted to keep my options open. But to be honest, once I was committed to EMREE, unfortunately, I couldn't like focus on anything else. I'll get into that later, why I couldn't focus on anything else. But I didn't give NEET. I didn't give NEET.
So you've not prepared for NEET, not given NEET?
No, I haven't prepared for NEET, not given NEET.
But do you have any input on if you feel like the preparation itself for NEET and EMREE is different in terms of the time duration or the kind of studying you have to do?
Definitely. I feel like the time and the type of questions are different. But see, how do I say it? So see, if you study for NEET, you could give EMREE, in the sense that you'll have a certain amount of knowledge that
Base knowledge.
Which you can give EMREE. But you can give EMREE. But that does not mean you might be able to score well, because for EMREE, you need to prepare it like you're preparing for EMREE, because the core difference that I told is the questions are very clinically oriented than what I've seen in NEET. And even I feel like the time duration, so personally for me, I didn't take any coaching for EMREE, right? I came here, it was a self-studying thing.
Of course.
But for NEET, what I've heard is you have to, like be very disciplined and strict with yourself and commit those hours to be somewhere, to get a good rank. That is also contributed by the fact, obviously, that, the population of India is huge. But I feel like everyone has this basic medical knowledge with which they could attempt any of the exams, but each exam also requires its personalized, customized preparation.
Of course,
So,
definitely. Okay, great. So we'll move on to the next question. So they also want to ask you certain things which are not really related to the prep, but in terms of like, when did you give your IELTS exam in between all of this?
My IELTS exam. So one prerequisite for joining residency here is that you have to have an English language proficiency exam. So although I did study here in the UAE up until grade 12, it was a requirement for me as well. Many people have asked this to me, like, okay, what if we studied abroad, or like, what if we studied somewhere in the GCC? Would we still need it? Yes, you would need it. And so it can be like OET, TOEFL, or IELTS. I gave IELTS, and so I gave my EMREE in the month of December, and I gave my IELTS in the month of January.
Right.
What you have to make sure is that you give your IELTS or your language paper well before the applications open, because I'll get more into the application part later, because the applications open and you have to like submit your IELTS result, and oftentimes it happens that they give it in the last moment and the result is not ready. So to always be on the safer side, give it like in the beginning of the year or right after you've given EMREE. Why after giving EMREE is because you should be satisfied with your score to go ahead and apply. So no need to simply waste money if you're not gonna give it. So give your EMREE, and your EMREE results will be out within 5 working days. And then you can go and give your IELTS. And yeah.
Okay. So that's about IELTS. What about your attestation and equivalence? When did you go about with doing that? And we know that this is like, we've been talking back and forth mostly regarding our equivalency and the attestations. And so, yeah, dive in.
Right. So I don't know who all are EMREE aspirants, but to whoever's out there, this has been the most difficult part of the journey, getting things attested. And so for me, my guideline was Meharish. I used to always go and view her stories and take snapshots of her stories and like keep it as a guide to, so I was a clueless this thing. So okay, for attestation, what you have to do is, being foreign medical graduates, you need to have all your documents attested if you want to apply for residency here. And attestation takes a month minimum. So attestation in itself has a lot of process. So attestation, I would like divide it into headings. Like there is your university attestation. So for people who are from affiliated universities or autonomous universities, your documents that you get from your universities are already attested by the university because it would have the seal. So that is the attestation from the university. Then there are 2 other places that you have to get attested from. One is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MUFA, here in the UAE, and then External Affairs. So these are the 2 things that you have to get attested. And what I did is, you can either go and do it by yourself. There are online portals and things like that, but I don't know much about that because I have not done that, so I can't comment much on that. But there are people who have done it online through the ministry portals, I hear. What I did was I handed it over to an agency so that they can get it done, and then I kept following up. The agency that I personally used was a place called First Step Corporate Services. So they're based here in Dubai. And so I handed over all my documents to them, and they know what all educational
They know what
attestation
to do, yeah, how to
they
go
know
about
what
the
to do.
process.
So after you give it to them, they'll give you like a quotation of the prices and stuff, and then you can give it to them. It's like safe and stuff, and then you can like follow up with them, and but the thing is that like the timing, you have to plan when to give and when you'll receive it. So attestation is not a very cheap process or a quick process. It takes time and it is expensive also. So I would suggest that you do it if you're like going forward with this. So that is the thing that we have to do. And also after attestation, there's this huge process called equivalency. It is a kind of attestation only, but that alone in itself, Meharish, I think it takes 2 to 3 months. So that is another whole headache, and that you can do only after you've attested from all these three
documents.
From all these three levels. And other things that you need are things called as data flow, and something new has come up this year called as ECE. So data flow is something. Okay, right. Before I forget, for people who have graduated from Kerala, I don't know many colleges which gives out transcripts. So in my college, we get thing called as Marklist or mark cards. So it will be like a year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. We get 4 separate mark lists. Separate papers. So, but here they require something called as a transcript. I've been asked this also a lot of times, what is transcript? So transcript is like your whole MBBS summarized, basically. All your clinical hours, where you've been posted, your marks for the 4 years and everything. So it becomes a single document. Why the benefit of making a transcript is that for almost all health authorities, when you attest, you need to attest your mark list as well. So if you were to attest your mark list, you would have to do it 4 separate times, which would cost you 4 times the amount. So making a transcript means you have a single document and you have to attest it once. So that is also a time-consuming process depending on where you're from. So you guys might want to get started on that, like getting a transcript ready if you're in your towards the end of your internship.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Honestly, you and I both agree that the exam was just one of the simplest things of the whole process.
Just the beginning.
It was just the beginning of the drama. And then the attestation and the equivalence. The general process itself, for FMGs at least, it's not the hard part. The hard part is the background stuff that we have to do in terms of
the documentation that we have to do, and to lose out chance because of the documentation is the saddest thing. So that's why it's very important that all FMGs out there hear about this and know about this, because nobody should miss out the chance because of documentation.
The sad part about it is that a lot of people only think about attestation and all like once they have their score or once they're like well on their way. And then by the time, the time that it consumes to do all of this is so long that, like you said, they miss out on their chances. So I think this is the most important thing for FMGs, at least, that if you're really, really serious about your getting accepted into residency, that you start early and you plan well ahead on these timelines and the time constraints and everything that is there. So
exactly.
I think one day we'll put out a session with you
on full. I was gonna suggest
just the attestation and everything about it. So it'll be more, because I think it'll be very lengthy if we add that entire thing to this. Okay, so I think we tackled a good number of questions. The other thing that what else have they asked? I think that's about it. Also, I think they want to know some things about your CV, like what you have added, if you are open to sharing what you've put in your CV.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. So again, being from Kerala, having studied in Kerala and India in general, things are not given much importance to like extracurricular activities. Like it's I don't know if I might get into trouble for saying this, but it is a truth. Even now things are very academic. Things are very academic oriented, and I mean, but still, if there's a will, there's a way. You can go out of your way and make a good CV and things like that. But you don't get any support as such, I would say. And again, like in my journey, I came to know a bit too late that CV is a big thing. So for those of you who are planning to, give EMREE in the upcoming years, load your CV up. That was an advice that Meharish, you gave me.
Yeah.
And with the little time I had, I tried my best. So I would say, like, go for, I'm sure all medical colleges do BLS. So, do your BLS, basic life support, get a certificate for that. If they're not giving you a certificate, go behind and, like, have it in your hands. And there are other courses like ATLS, ACLS also that you can do. Attending conferences or CMEs is also a big plus. So different CMEs have different points, so they look into all of that. Another thing that I've found that Dubai looks into is research. Research projects are like really valued. It can set you apart from other candidates. So if you get a chance to do research, please don't shy away from it. Or if you have time, if you think you have time, go join and be a part of a research that's ongoing, or like do a research, something that you can count as a research. Then obviously they appreciate community outreach program. That is one thing I can say proudly that we might have a lot in Kerala.
I feel like India is very forward in terms of, because we separately have like our social and preventive medicine rotations, so we have to go out there and do these social projects and social researches and also,
Exactly. So that is a plus point. You'll have a lot of community outreach programs. It can be anything. And also, guys, like, your logbook is a very important, valuable document. If at any point you're making a CV and you don't know what to put in, just go back to your logbook and you will see the things that you've done. For me personally, I have forgotten so many things that I've done that I, when I go back and open my logbook, I'm like, okay, this can go into my CV. Why not? So as irritating as it is to finish your logbook, do your logbook during internship, please do it, and do it sincerely, because it'll really help.
Exactly. I think it's very a part of the, like, it doesn't matter sort of why it goes into keep a logbook, and people just want to, like, you just copy paste from your seniors or you copy paste from your
seniors, get the sign and get it done.
Just like get it over with. But it's very valuable to have an honest logbook which you can really go back to.
People don't really have it in other places, Meharish. We I mean, in Kerala we have it in medical colleges. I have few other friends who are also FMGs, not necessarily Indians. They don't really maintain a logbook, so I feel like it's a very unique, valuable thing. So, like, hold on to it.
Definitely, because like you said, we have a lot of deficiencies in the Indian training system for a lot of the things that are a requirement here, like research and publications and whatnot. So the place where we can supplement, I would say, is the hours that we train, the number of patients that we see, the kind of procedures that we get to be a part of just as an intern, which usually doesn't happen here because the system is really, really different. So when you come from a place that has some differences in the training, use that difference to your advantage. So, like, don't focus on the things that are deficient, but there are things that are, like, going to push you apart from them in a positive light. So even, like, you can add those, like, the amount of hours you used to work, the kind of things you've seen. So just mention everything like that in your CV, because everybody knows as graduates we usually don't have, our CVs look so empty. It's kind of sad.
Fresh graduates, we wouldn't have anything, no experiences, hardly anything. But yeah, like you said, the differences can make a difference. You can do things with that. So yeah,
definitely. So that's I think we can, like, if Mariam is willing, we can have further sessions dividing each thing, so it'll be easier for people who are targeting just that. So this will be like a general broad overview plus more details into EMREE, and we can have another session for, like, MMI prep, and another session for CV and attestation and whatnot. It'll, like, be really helpful. And is there anything else you wanna add before we?
So the things that I've said are the things that are best to my knowledge. Make sure that you all are regularly updated, because, like I said, things keep changing every year. So make sure you go onto the EMREE site and read everything carefully. What if things have changed this year? So make sure that you're always updated about things. And also, another thing that I want to add is, if at all you all have time in your hands before you apply to EMREE and you're done with all the documentation, try and maybe, get into Arabic a little bit, because Marish, this year I've noticed that that is also another plus point that they look into. Obviously, in the UAE, when we cater to the needs of the locals, knowing Arabic is a huge plus. So, maybe it can be a
At
small
least the
thing, just
basic.
and yeah, at least the basic, just like maybe you can say like you enroll yourself in an Arabic coaching class or something like that. That can also like really, okay, so this person is really serious about being here, working here.
Right.
So that is another thing that I can tell you.
Definitely. Definitely. I agree with that. Okay,
Right.
so I think we will wrap up our session before it gets way too long.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone who joined us, and no questions came up in the comment section. So I think we just like will leave it at that for now. Maybe like once this is out, then more questions might come up, and we'll do more sessions regarding this. So. Right, so everybody who has joined us, I hope whatever information you got, it helped. And I will again try to get a copy of this and upload it wherever I can. So those of you who have missed it can like reach out. And yeah, at any point of time, if you have any clarifications, I'm always super open to replying to your questions whenever I have time. And a lot of people might not get replies and they feel like I'm not checking my DMs, but they it takes like a long time for me to reach them because usually the inbox is super flooded with a lot of inquiries and clarifications. But yeah, so thank you all for joining. Thank you so much. You have so many fans in the comments. All of the comments I've been seeing are like, Mariam fan club and everything.
Right. So, Marish, I've
Oh,
noticed, yeah, someone was trying to ask something. Data flow, is it the same
uh-huh.
for DHA, DOH, MOH? Okay.
Mm.
Dr. Fatima. Okay, so data flow, is it the same? It's not the same. When you go into the data flow website, you have the option to start your data flow onto which authority. So I personally did it for DHA because I heard that you can convert it to the other health authorities.
Mm.
But so far, I have not been asked that or required that. They just ask you for your data flow, or they're also like extremely understanding. In case you don't have your data flow on time, they just ask you to attach your fee receipt or your data flow reference number.
Right.
But I don't know if things can change this year, but yeah, it's always safe to do your DHA data flow.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Does anybody who is present have any more questions before we wrap up this session? Let's see, we'll just like give it a few.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, as I was saying, thank you so much, Mariam, for doing this. I
So much
know,
thanks for giving me this
yes,
opportunity.
I know so many people who this will help because, I know a lot of stuff from my experience, but even that is like now outdated because, like you said, things change yearly, and my experience was 4 years ago. While most of the things are same, there are certain aspects of it that change and you have to keep getting updated. So it's always good to have a person who literally just went through it to like have to guide the people who are coming immediately behind you. And somebody is asking if you shared the score. We haven't shared her score.
I haven't, no.
I think do you want to?
I don't mind.
Okay.
So I've scored 79%.
And that's like you are in the 100th percentile, I believe.
So
Yeah.
you have percent and percentile for EMREE, and so your percentile is your rank, and right, okay, your percentile is your rank, and your percent is the score. So I was, alhamdulillah, mashallah, lucky enough to get 79%, and that made me like on the 100th percentile. So that was my score, Dr. Fatima, and someone else has also asked something.
They're
Like
asking about prerequisite eligibility like CGPA.
Renin, okay. Yeah, they do consider CGPA. For Dubai, I can tell you they haven't explicitly set a cutoff. They do make it a criteria in shortlisting you. They have not set a criteria like you need to have this and this, But for Abu Dhabi, there is a criteria. It's 80% or greater than or equal to 3 CGPA. So that is the criteria for DH. Again, for Dubai, like I said, there's no explicit cutoff, but they do check it. Like they do appreciate high scores when they shortlist.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Okay,
Thank
so
you, Em.
yeah. All right, so we'll wrap up. Again, once again, thank you to everyone who joined us. Thank you to Mariam. Hopefully, we'll have her on board for more and more sessions. And I'm still getting more questions.
Inshallah, if I
Later,
match, I have not
inshallah, we're
matched
all
yet.
rooting for her. And do you want to share which specialty you're trying to get into?
I am inshallah trying to get into general surgery specialty. That's very
Fingers crossed.
competitive here in the UAE. Inshallah trying for that, and yeah, inshallah if I match, I will definitely share my story. Thank you, Fatima.
Once she matches, and I'm gonna say once because I just want to manifest that into your life. So
Thank
once you match and once you join, we will do an official senior resident, junior resident video together for all of
Inshallah.
you guys. Inshallah. All right. All the best, Mariam. We'll see you
Thank you
soon.
so much,
Of
Mary.
course.
See you.
Thank you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.